You've got the boot. I don't require someone who disobeys me. Get out of here. Pack up your belongings. I lost my job because I disagreed with the president of the company. After that, I was motivated to launch my own company by my supervisor Sarah's remarks. This is the last time I'll flee. I will rise and fight fearlessly. I will not allow anyone who causes harm to our valued staff to escape punishment. Who are you, really? Sarah's eyes were a little teary when she saw how determined everyone was. Charles is my name. This year, I turned 30. I've been with the organization for 6 years, having joined shortly after I graduated from college. After I finished from college, I relocated to New York from the country, where I have lived alone ever since. I chose information technology as my college degree since I was skilled with computers. President James Williams started the business from the ground up when I joined. The business of President Williams has grown to prominence in the sector. I was first pleased to be hired as a recent graduate by such a prestigious organization. The prospect of a new life filled me with excitement. But the real world isn't often so pretty. I eventually discovered that the president had a lot of harsh and irrational restrictions when I really started working for the company. The fact that I had to abide by those restrictions was starting to bother me more and more. Hey, you must secure this client no matter what. The sound of the president's booming voice filled the chamber once more today. Here, arguing would just earn you a lengthy rebuke. In the few years as I joined the company, I had already come to that realization. It felt like the workers were being treated like the president's slaves at this point. You appear to have something to say, Charles. You are aware of the consequences if you disobey me while you are here, correct? Yes, I understand. The president gave me a stern look. I wanted to say something today, but his piercing gaze made me feel like I had turned into ice. I ended up saying nothing as a result. I outperformed everyone else in sales and had a strong result. I was certain that I would receive my promotion without any problems. I was forced into sales even as a system engineer, and I had targets to meet. Reaching the quota was unachievable. Frequently, I would bring the leftover work home with me and work all night. The president would call me and require me to attend a training session if I failed to reach the quota. Despite receiving overtime compensation, everyone was worn out from the heavy workload. There were, nevertheless, tiny respites throughout those terrible days. Well done. Again this month, you're at the top of the charts. That is incredible. It was Sarah Smith, my manager, who was passing me a can of coffee. I said, "It was just luck." "That is untrue. It's the outcome of your diligence and skill," she remarked. I turned my head away, taken aback by the direct praise. I'm 6 years older than Sarah. Everyone respected her because she was not only skilled at her work, but also thoughtful to her coworkers. I am among those who think highly of Sarah. She simply satisfies and even goes above and beyond the president's ridiculous demands. Even though I was persevering and seeing results, many workers eventually reached their breaking point. To be honest, I didn't think about giving up every day, but it was not an easy choice given Sarah and the clients who depended on me. In addition, I enjoyed my work as an engineer, and my coworkers took great pride in what they produced. Seeing my juniors go made me sad since it seemed like they were crazy about the president. During one of our breaks, my subordinate Daniel confided in me, saying, "I'm just not cut out to be an engineer." That is untrue. I can attest to your abilities. You ought to be more self-assured, I genuinely remarked. It wasn't false. Daniel was a highly skilled engineer who was a great asset. But when he initially started, his communication abilities were appallingly lacking. It was me who gave him a helping hand. When we did get to converse, I was surprised to find that he was actually rather pleasant. We talked about work late into the night a lot. Even still, Daniel found it difficult to close deals. and the president became more and more irate about the recent stagnation in sales as the monthly department meeting drew near. The president always gives a lengthy address to kick off the gathering. He frowns as he highlights the bad state of affairs. Occasionally, he incorporates his past valiant tales and boasts, and contingent on his disposition, he singles out one individual for a public reprimand. This time, I truly detested it. Bullying and this are the same thing. It's difficult to follow the substance of his message above all the yelling. Daniel was the president's goal that day. The president made him stand in front of everyone and reprimanded him nonstop. No one dared to speak up about his humanity being denied for fear that they might be the next to be targeted. Listen up, someone as gloomy as you doesn't deserve to live. Sorry, but I unconsciously got up as soon as I heard those words. My blood began to boil. All eyes turned to me at once, but I was unconcerned. It's time to stop. Certain things are off limits to you. The words had spilled out of my mouth. Before I realized. I couldn't stop expressing my emotions once I got going. What? Do you have a grievance? Inquired the president. I don't think it's necessary to go that far, I responded. I looked across at Sarah. Hey, how come you are unable to manage your subordinate? It's your responsibility. I apologize. He seemed to become a little agitated. Sarah questioned the president on my behalf, saying, it's not his true intention. I gazed straight at the president, pitying Sarah. I figured I might as well finish what I had started today. I had, after all, routinely been the best performer here. I was free to express one or two opinions without fear of repercussions. I talked, after persuading myself. With all due respect, President, in this day and age, I believe your methods are no longer viable. It's your justification. Reaching out to them at their most hesitant moment will undoubtedly result in purchases. That's how I constructed this area. That approach is growing more and more ineffective in the modern world. Recently, sales haven't been great, have they? Charles, please. With concern, Sarah cried out to me, but I persisted. Compliance has become stricter these days, so maybe we should try to be more accommodating. Hey, are you attempting to find fault with my approach? When did you rise to such great heights and power? The president gave a loud slam on the table after getting to his feet. His face flushed scarlet with rage as his eyebrows shot up. You seem to be mistaken, but no matter how good you are at your job, you're just a pawn in this company. After saying this, the president crossed his legs and sat back down heavily. I am the one moving these pawns. You don't deserve to work here if you can't follow my orders, the president said in a stern voice. You've got the boot. I don't require someone who disobeys me. Gather your belongings and leave this place. The president's attractive face became even more vicious as he scowled at me, deep lines appearing between his eyebrows. Wait a minute. When the president announced he was firing me, Sarah got up. President. Sarah, what is it? Do you also have a grievance? I don't need someone to question me, therefore it's okay. Firing him so suddenly eyes. The president smirked and cut off Sarah. This occurred as a result of your inadequate oversight. Later, I hope to receive a report. The president then turned his back on me and began to page through paperwork. I made the decision to leave the company that day, but I didn't look back. In that case, I would have felt bad about leaving Daniel behind. As I was about to depart after finishing the resignation processes, Sarah reached out to me. I pivoted around. As I was going to say goodbye and grin, I said, Sarah, thank you for everything. Sarah said in a hurt voice, it wasn't necessary for you to step down. As your boss, I sincerely apologize for not being able to safeguard you. Then she told me she was sorry. I answered, unable to look her in the eye, no, this is fine, and walked out of the company. Upon leaving the business, I noticed Daniel holding a huge cardboard box with determination in his arms. I had the greatest knowledge that once he made up his mind, he wouldn't change it. I said, "Are you coming with me?" "Of course." Thus, we both departed from the company. After that, we began working as independent engineers. But being a freelancer wasn't always easy, and it was unbelievably hard. Because we were employed by a reputable organization, we soon understood the importance of name recognition. Although our income occasionally exceeded what we were paid as employees, the lack of consistency caused us to constantly worry that our savings would run out. In spite of this, the days we worked and supported one another were satisfying. Sarah got in touch with me 2 months after we both quit our jobs, and we arranged to meet at a cafe. I said, "Are you off work today?" Sarah gave a head shake. "No, I also left my job." "He is solely to blame." Her face was scornful, as she made reference to Williams. "He didn't change in the slightest even after you departed. He persisted in utilizing and discarding staff members like pawns." Sarah's expression curled with annoyance. How in the world could a person like that become president? That person ought to be someone just like you. I quit because, although I had thought I could put up with it, I could no longer stand his ways. Her remarks helped me to recognize something I had been considering for some time. I said, "Are you working somewhere now?" She sighed heavily and said, "Right now, I'm enjoying unemployed life," in a tone that was resigned. "I'm having trouble finding a job. It's all William's fault." Did the president do something? I keep getting turned down at the document screening step. I have no supporting evidence. I never hear back, and even when I do get an interview, it looks odd to bring up my former employer. I believe he is exerting pressure of some way. I never thought someone with Sarah's level of brilliance would be in this kind of predicament. Would you want to collaborate with me, if it is okay? I intend to launch a business, but I won't be able to pay as much or at such a high level as previously. Sarah became visibly perplexed by my abrupt proposal. It's acceptable if you require a temporary position while looking for another one. However, there's really no pressure. Sarah gave me a dubious glance. My pulse raced at her beauty, which rivaled that of magazine models. I made the decision to launch my own company in this way. Some of the people who had left Williams's company had already agreed to join after I had gotten in touch with them. I told them that we will be starting shortly. Everyone jumped on board with enthusiasm. Sarah decided to cooperate with us as well. Our team's once dreary environment has brightened and livelier since Sarah joined. At Williams's company, she had advanced to the position of manager at the age of just 30. She naturally became well-liked by her coworkers as a result of her exceptional work. Most of us were operating with a sense of resignation prior to her arrival. However, as everyone watched Sarah work tirelessly and without giving up, they all began to feel encouraged, and our company's sales began to progressively increase. She really saved our lives. I couldn't imagine sleeping with my feet aimed at her. Daniel saw me thinking this as he watched her focused on the computer and came over to talk to me. "You appear content. What were you thinking?" "Oh, nothing." Daniel grinned again as he tried to hide my smile. "You two seem like a wonderful fit to me. I take it that your friendship with Sarah from the prior organization goes beyond just business. It seems shady." "What topic are you discussing?" "Nothing is happening." It must have seemed like I was smiling, eerily, even if I denied it. "Well, but someone as beautiful as Sarah wouldn't go for a guy like you." That was an offensive comment, but it was also too true to refute. I laughed at myself, which only made me feel more empty. Then, 3 months after we launched the company, all of our hard work paid off, and I started to feel more confident in my presidency. Everything looked to be going well, sales were rising steadily until he showed up. "Hey, get the person in charge of this gloomy company out here." I was checking emails slowly on a usual Monday morning when all of a sudden, I heard a loud cry. I dashed to the front desk to find out what was happening. Hey, long time no see. Williams had unexpectedly arrived up at our business, much to my astonishment. It looks like business is flourishing. Have you pulled any strings? His tone was disdainful, even contemptuous. No, it's because the employees have been working very hard. I heard Sarah is working here. She is, indeed. Her efforts have contributed to our improvement in part. Williams made a startling comment while furiously raising his eyebrows. Why did you hire her? She indicated that she was having trouble finding a work when we happened to meet, so I offered her a job. That's it. Fire her. Gazing into Williams's enraged eyes was like staring down a feral animal. I begged for an explanation while trying not to shiver. What do you mean? The fact that she left to work somewhere else without telling me bothers me. Charles, you as well. Why don't you join our business as a subsidiary? I apologize, but I have to turn down both requests. She's a great contribution to the team, and I hope she stays on. Please leave. No matter what you say, we won't comply. Looking to touch arrogant now that you're somewhat prominent, huh? All right. I do things my way. This is something you'll regret. Williams lost all control of his rage and walked out, kicking a neighboring garbage can. But as he said, I began to second-guess my hasty remarks. We started getting calls the following day from partners and clients who wanted to review their agreements with us. In fact, a few workers even declared their intention to resign, right as our company was beginning to stabilize. What was happening? To find out why, I made the decision to give one of our clients a call. Williams had, as was to be expected, looked into the businesses we did business with and put pressure on them to end our relationship. In addition, he was allegedly attempting to bribe some of our staff in an attempt to steal them. I put my head in my hands, but I was unable to think about terminating her or turning into a subordinate. I had no desire to go back to those terrible times. Still, I considered every one of my staff members, one of whom had just happily announced their engagement. Sarah was standing in front of me as I was having trouble focusing my thoughts. She seemed to have made up her mind based on her determined look. I am to blame for this. Please release me. This one can be salvaged if I go back to Williams' company. However, you hold the office of president. Prioritize the firm. She scolded me when she interrupted. Just when I was running out of things to say, I heard many footsteps and the door flew open. Hey Sarah, what do you mean? You are unable to give up. You have no justification for leaving. Somehow, staff members heard and swarmed in. Encouraged by everyone's words of encouragement, I gave her a direct look and said, Everyone is correct. It's not necessary for you to give up. As president, I definitely have responsibility for this situation. I determinedly tightened my fist. This is the last time I'll flee. I'll get up and take a brave stance. I can't allow someone who does harm to our priceless staff to escape punishment. You're correct. Let's demonstrate to them our company's strength. When will we fight if we don't fight now? Daniel and the other staff members lifted their fists into the air, moved by what I had spoken. Sarah appeared to be crying when she saw everyone standing together. We went together to every business that had turned us down for a deal. Several times, even twice, we were turned away. Many businesses would apologize and decline as soon as they heard our company's name, fearing Williams' pressure. Still, we continued to apologize and worked hard to locate new business partners. Williams put more pressure on us than we had anticipated in between, and there was a moment when the company's continued existence was in doubt. All of them persisted still, not a single grumble. I also concentrated on my abilities, creating procedures and making sales. Sales climbed over time as a result of everyone's dedication, and we all delighted when our yearly sales hit a record high. The system I created at that time became very popular. Numerous businesses sought to sign contracts with us once it attracted the attention of the sector. Like the last time I remained late to think, Sarah brought me a can of coffee when the company was on schedule. You could confront Williams on an equal footing. Really, who are you? It's not just my power. Everyone put forth a lot of effort in tandem. I touched the can's lid with my finger. I was sure we had defeated Williams by a considerable margin. One day, the reception room was abnormally boisterous as soon as I walked into the office. Williams was there when I hurried over. But he didn't look the same. Rather than his typical haughty self, he appeared disturbed. Do you need something? Please return to our business. Your and Sarah's chasm is too great. His demeanor was surprisingly meek as he approached me. Please, please, please. Sales have been dropping since you two left, and we are unable to handle the workload. I get it now. Both of you were essential to us. Just as I was ready to say no, Sarah showed up. I could see Daniel, observing us from a distance, looking worried. I've changed since then from the guy I was. Right now, I had a lot of people and a home to protect. Arming myself, I turned to face Williams. Sarah, I was waiting for you. I was in error. Please return to our business. Williams expressed regret, nearly to the extent of groveling. I'll do anything. I'll double your pay. Simply return. Williams continued to be powerful in the community despite his previous transgressions. Both the scale of his business and his reputation were quite powerful. I waited for Sarah to respond, and she did so coolly. I refuse. Williams and I were both surprised by her unexpected response. Sarah's countenance hardened. President, I appreciate your recognition, but it's not about the money. There was a tangible, quiet rage in her manner. Please stop interfering with us any further. I'm sorry for everything. I beg you, please. Williams gave Sarah a beseeching look, but when he saw our unwavering resolve, he shrugged and turned away. There had been a gloomy vibe in the workplace for a long, but Sarah clapped her hands to clear it. Let's resume our job. Isn't the president scheduled to meet soon? At this rate, we'll be late. She smiled gently and said, Everyone, let's get ready. Following that, I learned that Williams' business lost credibility fast and filed for bankruptcy due to its inability to continue operating. Williams, who had a terrible reputation to begin with, was stripped of all honor and prestige. He attempted a comeback, but even the banks refused to work with him because of his well-known transgressions among his peers. Williams's company vanished, and we never saw him again. There are rumors that he works various part-time jobs from morning to night in order to pay off his outstanding bills. But his arrogance as a former president keeps him at odds with his colleagues all the time. He consequently switches jobs a lot, and nobody is aware of his current location. The people who lost the most in the company's demise were his former employees. Despite going bankrupt, the corporation had amassed a large talent pool and had been a prominent participant for a long time. Those who respected Sarah remained in contact with her even after she moved on. From time to time, some of those workers chose to work for us after, learning that Sarah was employed. It struck right when our company was beginning to stabilize. Their presence was quite fortunate, as we had been discussing recruiting as a result of corporate expansion. We could now run the business with some peace of mind, as opposed to the past when we were always concerned about money. Do you recall when President Williams stormed in and demanded to see you again? I've always been curious as to why you rejected him. Why? Just because I detested Williams's business. When Sarah said that, I grinned. Well, tell me, why did you continue working for our company? I finally asked Sarah the question I had been meaning to ask for a long time. Not just Williams, but many other corporations would desire someone with her talent. We were acquaintances, but I was interested to know why she stayed with a small, just-founded company. Sarah, you have such incredible potential. You could do well at a larger organization. Then, sitting on the couch, Sarah started to talk about what she had stored inside. I wasn't able to voice my dissatisfaction with the policies and procedures at the prior company, even though I was against them. I had no idea what would occur if I did. Sarah gave me a direct glance while speaking. Even though you ultimately left the organization, you showed bravery by defying Williams. You struck me as being really intelligent and superior to everyone else. To learn that Sarah thought that way about me truly stunned me. I worked hard after you left, but I didn't always know if this was okay. For the first time, I gave Sarah's feelings my whole attention. Then you reached out to me shortly after I abruptly resigned my job, and I made the decision to follow you forever. I was a little ashamed to hear her story, but I was also glad to know that I understood how she felt. The company's performance increased steadily as a result of Sarah's and all the employees' daily efforts. Eventually, we accomplished one of our long-term objectives, going public. I was incredibly appreciative of the staff members who supported me throughout those difficult initial months. And my life saw yet another important shift. President, I would like to hear your response today. Sarah's big eyes widened even more as she gave me a close look. She brought up work as usual, as if it were a daily occurrence. President, when are you going to start addressing me by my first name? I can't get over that hurdle. Normally, I could avoid the inquiry, but today was not like that. I was scratching my head, trying to come up with a plan of escape, when all of a sudden Sarah was in front of me. I need a concise response. How do you feel about me? I won't move unless you order me to. She gave off an adorable pof. You seem like a great person who excels at your job and is well liked by all. Actually, I knew even more about her than that. She was gorgeous and gifted, but never conceited. I noticed her passion and generosity, and I found myself slowly pulled to her. However, I believed that a woman like her could never be with a lousy president like me. Instead of expressing my emotions, I chose to act like any other worker. However, facing such a challenge made me lose my determination. She seemed to see straight through me as she grinned. Is that not all? I asked. She looked really cheerful, I thought. I could feel the redness in my face intensifying. I was desperate when I made the decision to launch the business. If I didn't succeed, I worried that I would come to despise myself for quitting Williams's company. Williams's insistence brought our company dangerously close to bankruptcy throughout the crisis, and I frequently regretted defying him. Why did I have to experience this? Such ideas plagued many sleepless evenings. People still had faith in me, despite my careless behavior. People who supported me through it all. I made priceless friends like Daniel and got to know an amazing woman named Sarah. I want to keep working toward bigger objectives while never losing focus on what matters most. How about dinner tonight, Sarah? I have to tell the woman blushing in front of me how I really feel first.